Everybody, it's me again. Now, let's start. Wait, let's load the file again. The boat gave a big shudder. Seems like we docked at the harbor. The boat driver came out and jumped to the pier with a mooring rope. A large man in a tuxedo was waiting there for us with a warm smile. I didn't recognize his face, but judging by his clothes, I guess he was a servant of the Ushiramiya head household. Welcome home, lady. You were so late in returning that I began to worry. Let me check. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure there's some music playing, but not completely. Thanks for caring. This moron got so scared, we had to slow down. It was seriously annoying. Shut up. Someday when the shoe's on the other foot, you'll remember this. At this rate, word will spread to the whole family, and I'll be the big conversation piece during dinner. Even without this, everyone would be talking about me because of that 6-year gap, but now I've been giving them an even juicier topic. Damn it, why does the Ushiramiya head family have to live on this isolated island? In the meantime, the boat had finished its mooring. A small plank was lowered so that we could get down. One by one, our parents came up from inside the boat. You must all be quite tired from your long trip. Madame, please allow me to assist you. Thank you. It's been quite a while, Goda. How are you? I thank you for your concern. It's always my pleasure to serve. Battler, isn't this your first time meeting Goda? If I'm not mistaken, you were working here 6 years ago, right? You weren't. Oh, messed up. Indeed. So please allow me to greet him for the first time. It is an honor to meet you, Battler. I'm pretty confident about my height, but you're huge! This is definitely our first meeting. I'd never forget meeting a big guy like you. It's a pleasure. I'm Battler. I was looking forward to meeting you. I am Goda, your servant. I've been working for the Ushiramiya head family since the year before last. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. If there's anything you need, please feel free to rely on me anytime. Goda, it's been quite some time. It's been too long, George. Please allow me to assist you. As usual, you're a pro at welcoming guests. If you ever need a job, just let me know, okay? I'll hire you anytime. You do me too much honor. Please allow me to assist you, Hideyoshi. Goda then led a hand to everyone as they disembarked, greeting them as they passed. His speech and mannerisms had a refined polish of a professional. He was very graceful in contrast with his initially tough-looking appearance. His large size made him seem a bit scary at first, but he was much more polite than my first impression had led me to believe. He claimed to serve on the island for 2 years, but he had doubtless worked at a similar job somewhere before. After everyone disembarked, the mooring rope was untied and the boat started to steer away from the harbor. It was probably returning to its home port on Nijima. The captain waved his hand in farewell. Maria conscientiously waved her hand back. Now that I think about it, that must be why I've felt something has been out of place for a while. I can't hear the cries of the seagulls. The seagulls? The birds? If I remember correctly, whenever we came to the island in the past, the seagulls always greeted us with their lively nya-nya cries. Because of that, whenever I hear the cries of the seagulls anywhere else, I get the feeling that I'm coming to a family conference. Except for the small part of the island where the Ushiramiya head family live, ROKKENJIMA has been left uncultivated, which makes it particularly a paradise for wild birds. Supposedly there's a cliff somewhere that houses a huge seagull colony. So this island's always full of seagulls. Not having those seagulls here to greet us made me feel a bit lonely. What's wrong, Battler? Oh, Aunt Rosa! Nah, it's nothing really. I was just thinking it was a bit lonely without the cries of the seagulls. My, that's true now that you mention it. Even though they're always so noisy, today there isn't one to be seen.
Why no seagulls?
Maybe it's because the seagulls are having a get-together somewhere too. Maria, did you want to see the seagulls?
Wanted to see them.
Still, it's a bit strange there isn't even a single one around. Maybe Jessica grilled them all up and ate them. The hell? Don't say disturbing stuff like that! You'll get Maria believing it!
Jessica grilled them! Jessica grilled them!
I did not! I did not! Why the hell would I do something like that? That's right! Jessica grilled them! Skin and meatballs, liver and onion!
Swimming meatballs! Liver and onion!
As I made fun of Jessica, Maria tagged along and it looked like she was having fun. Oh, I never guessed she was such a good sport. Alrighty then, from today on, I'm gonna make you my #1 follower. As I smiled at her, she beamed, looking overjoyed, possibly because she was happy about this little connection that we made with each other. That's not it, Maria. I've heard wild birds are attuned to changes in the weather and atmospheric pressure. The weather will probably get worse tonight. The seagulls might have returned to their nest early.
Not grilled? Jessica didn't grill them?
No! I wouldn't do something like that! Battler, you admit right now that you lied! Battler, Maria's a naive girl, so she even takes jokes seriously. You should choose your jokes more carefully. George gently scolded me. Even though I outstripped Aniki in height, Aniki was Aniki, of course. There was no choice but to obediently apologize. Sure. My bad. Maria, that was a joke. The seagulls are all taking it easy in their nest today, that's all.
Battler lied? George told the truth?
Had she actually been tricked despite all the fun that she was having? Her pure eyes made me feel guilty. Maybe I went a little overboard with her after all. Yeah! That's right. What George said is true. The weather's bad, so they probably went home for the day. It doesn't mean they're gone. Right on, Rosa? That's right. Tomorrow when the weather gets better, I'm sure they'll come back so we can hear them cry meow meow like they always do.
I'll wait until the weather gets better and they come back. Gonna wait until tomorrow. Gonna wait until the weather's better.
Maria was on a lighter mood and looking forward to tomorrow when the seagulls would come back and fill the skies. Still, George is really amazing at taking care of kids. I think I remember Aniki taking good care of me as well when I was a brat 6 years ago. Aniki, that's probably your gift. George is amazing at taking care of young kids. If you wanted to, I bet you'll do a great job in childcare, don't you think? Yeah, it's almost like George was born to do something like that. Personally, I think that'd suit you better than doing business some company president's office. Oh no, childcare is a fine career path. It's just not a job where merely liking children is enough. You really are modest, George. But Balor's quite good with children too. Just a second ago, even though it didn't last long, Maria seemed to have a lot of fun. Please keep on playing with her like you did just now. Just choose your jokes more carefully, okay? Aunt Rosa winked at me, giggling a little. She's a real mother, I thought to myself, who's happy to see Maria having fun. Come on, Rosa. And you brats too. What the hell are you doing? Let's get going. Okay, we're coming. The old bastard was waving for us to hurry up. Yeah, we need to get moving. We might as well have this conversation after setting our luggage down in our rooms. Now then, everyone, allow me to lead you to the guest house where you'll be spending the night. Please, this way. Goda called out to everybody and led the way. Kumasawa brought up the rear. A serpentine twisting path led through the dim forest. It ran a bit uphill. Guess the path was all twisty so the slope didn't seem too steep. But personally, I'd been happier if they had the guts to make some stairs in a straight line. No doubt they made the path twist on purpose to put on the airs of distance and importance. Before long, we saw garden-style stone steps. Ah, from here on I do have some memories. Go up these and... At the top of the stone steps, we saw a beautiful guest house. Its facade was lovely, of course, but more importantly, we couldn't enter its doors without having our hearts stolen by the splendor of the beautiful rose garden spreading before it. Ah, it's as beautiful as ever this year. A real delight for the eyes. After climbing up the stone steps, the people greeted by this rose garden gave voice to their impressions one by one. Is it just me, or are the flowers a little less lively this year? It's probably because it wasn't hot this summer. I also believe that was a factor. Sadly, this year's blooming is a tad inferior when compared to last year's. Even so, it was a delightful rose garden. I remember that even 6 years ago, huge numbers of roses had greeted us every year. This rose garden was the first thing that greeted everyone who came to ROKKENJIMA. Even our parents who came every year couldn't help but give voice to their admiration. In fact, it seemed to have undergone a power-up from the garden of my memories of 6 years ago. This place is always so amazing. It'd be wonderful to have a rose garden like this at home. Give it up. Who do you think would take care of it? Roses are a real pain with bugs and diseases to worry about. Well, from what I've heard, Kyrie takes care of her rose every day and makes sure no bugs get anywhere near it, right? Huh? What are you talking about? That's right. Though in this person's case, the rose goes after insects like some nasty carnivorous plant. Oh, so that's what you mean. Come on, Rosa, can't you give that a rest just for today? I put that sort of thing completely behind me. I wonder. After all, you're a womanizer on almost a genetic level. No need to worry, Rosa. When a rose gives you too much trouble, it's always best to snip it at the root. Such frightening talk this is. Guys who are popular with ladies are always forced to live dangerously. I sure hope I turn out prettier in my next life. Hideyoshi, like I keep saying, it isn't like that at all. And Kyrie, stop it, you're freaking me out. You've made my rose wilt. Hey, Maria, look over there. Those roses are especially magnificent.
Magnificent roses. Ah!
Smells pretty sweet. Look, this suits my elegance perfectly. Hey, cut it out! Maria's gonna imitate you and get hurt by the thorns. She yelled at me as I leaned in to smell the rose's scent with an exaggerated gesture. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitate my every gesture, and George smiling broadly at us. Hey now, Maria, be careful. Rose thorns can hurt.
Huh? George, only this rose is strange. Ugh.
Strange? What's wrong? Maria pointed at a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, one single rose was just starting to wilt. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish and others wilt. That's all there is to it, but Maria seemed very concerned about the only unhealthy one in the group. It must have made her feel lonely. So you feel sad for this rose because it's the only one that isn't healthy?
Ugh. The others are all healthy, but this one's sad.
Well, they all bloom and wither at their own paces. I bet this one's just starting to wilt early because it got to bloom before any of the others. Yeah, that's right. It probably just bloomed like crazy and fulfilled its duty and went to sleep. You shouldn't get so worked up about it.
Ugh.
It seemed that Maria's pure sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for that rose that wilted alone. Even though she understood the logic of it, it still felt lonely to her. Then Maria, why don't you look after this rose until after we leave?
Huh?
George straightened up and felt around in his pocket. He took out the wrapper from the candy he'd been sucking on the plane. He twisted it into a thin string and gently tied it to the rose as a sort of marker. Hey, that's pretty cute! Let's mark it with this. Later on, you can come and give it some water. I'm sure Mr. Rose will be happy.
Ah! Come to give it water!
I think you should give Mr. Rose here a name. I'm sure that'll make it happy and you'll get to know it a little better.
A name? A name?
Though she still wore her usual sullen face, Maria crossed her arms and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Aniki. George has always been really understanding. Can't help but respect him. Yeah. I guess he was just born that way. We gotta start picking up some tips. Was this rose garden as magnificent when you were all kids? It was only after I stopped living here that it grew so big. Before that, the garden was simpler, though I'm still attached to that one. Nissan fiddled with it too much, with that vaguely bad taste of his. I liked it much better before. Ava, you gotta think more positive. Setting aside it used to look, its beauty now is something to be admired. You'll be able to relax a lot better if you look at it that way. I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying I wanted you to see the garden the way it was before, too. Everyone, if you please. I shall guide you to your rooms now. Rhoda called everyone to ask if we were ready. But our hearts had been completely stolen away by the rose garden that none of us had seen for a year, so we didn't pay much attention to him. Since we weren't a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Besides, since our parents were visiting their old home, full of nostalgia, it wasn't like they had to let themselves get urged on by anyone or anything. Understanding the situation, Goda continued to wait, smiling widely, until our parents got tired of the roses and told them to guide us to our rooms. Oh, hey, if it isn't Canon! It's been so long! How you doing? Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving was a slender boy. Medium right after a huge man like Goda emphasized his small nature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled up gardening tools and the like in a wheelbarrow. When he realized he was being called to stop, he set down the wheelbarrow and took his hat off and bowed his head. Good afternoon. I figured he was probably younger than me, and I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was another servant. He greeted us in response to Uncle Hideyoshi's call, but he seemed like he might be pretty unsociable most of the time. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda noticed that our interest had shifted toward him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us. Battler, allow me to introduce you. This is one of the servants of the Ushiromiya head household. Canon, greet our guest. I'm pleased to meet you. I'm the servant, Canon. Okay, so Canon. So this is the own sound. Own, this own character. Mion and Shion also have this character. Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He seemed to be unsociable, at least not so good at talking. Compared to Goda, who was extraordinarily polished as a servant, you couldn't help but feel an inexperience typical of his age. When Goda urged him to whisper a bit more of an introduction, the boy Canon seemed to only cast his eyes downwards. Canon, could you please perhaps give them a bit more of a greeting? No, because we are furniture. He didn't seem to be refusing to greet us out of spite. Rather, he seemed to have fallen silent because he didn't know what else to say to us in a greeting. Well, Canon's shy and doesn't tend to talk much. He might not be that sociable, but deep down he's a really good person. Don't get him wrong. You've been working here for 3 years, haven't you? Pretty sure you started a year before Goda, right? Even though he wasn't exactly giving a terrible first impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. I see. Apparently his unsociable nature causes him trouble a lot. Okay then, nice to meet you. I'm Baller. I'm 18. How old are you? He felt silent, as though wondering whether or not it was a question he'd have to answer. But here again, Jessica plowed ahead. If I remember correctly, Canon's 2 years younger than us, so 16, right? Yes, that is correct. It looked like he would have preferred not to tell us his age if given the choice. It's probably because he thought we looked down on him for it. I remember when I was around his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. I see. 16, huh? It's gotta be a delicate time. Which means I probably asked something I shouldn't have. Well, I'm glad you're about our age. Just be cool and call me Battler, and I'll call you Cannon. Thank you very much. But the sentiment alone is sufficient, Battler. I think they call him Canon, but I don't feel like saying that. Jessica looked panicky for some reason. She seemed to think my impression of Canon was getting worse because of his refusal. Well, as a girl, Jessica probably couldn't understand the fretful male heart at this age. As his elder, even by 2 years, I took it upon myself to be understanding of that. Canon, could you perhaps be a little more courteous? A smiling face is also part of a servant's duty. My apologies. I shall make an effort. Goda, Canon is trying his best, yes? It looked like he was often worried about being unsociable, and apparently he hadn't improved one bit. Goda kept his mischievous smile, but let out a small sigh of resignation escape. Well then, I still have work to do. If you'll excuse me. It looked like Canon himself was uncomfortable with remaining silent here any longer. Another perfunctory bow, he turned around and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, the wheelbarrow suddenly wobbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess the wheelbarrow's single wheel got caught in a pebble and lost its balance. What do you think you're doing now? Clean it up quickly. Goda urged him to hurry in a quiet voice, so hinting that it was shameful for a servant to appear clumsy in front of the guests. Canon wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects, as if to say he understood quite well without being told. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools and shovels and such, but he looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer. Are you okay? You're so careless. Here. Milady, you'll dirty your garments. Please leave this to us. With a smooth motion, Goda took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. Behind him, Canon was having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer.
Ugh, you'll dirty your garments?
Don't worry, the ones I'm wearing aren't that expensive. Besides, I hate guys who just sit there and make the waitresses pick up the fork they dropped at the restaurant. I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course they weren't light, but for me it was a piece of cake. Canon looked at me surprised. It was the face of someone who would have never expected to receive help from a guest. But, Battler, don't worry about it. I'll take care of everything so. Don't you worry. I may not look it, but I got where it counts. Since Canon looked like he hadn't yet gone through his growth spurt, he was stuck with a sort of weak body. This kind of weight might have been too much for him. It's quite heavy. It's natural that it would be difficult for you. Don't worry about it, Canon. Okay, my time to shine. This makes up for the boat stuff from before, right? As if this could make up for freaking out like that. Later I'll tell you about it too, Canon. Battler was totally hilarious.
Gonna fall! Fall!
As they did this, I piled up all the stuff back into the wheelbarrow. I beg your forgiveness for letting you witness such unsightliness. Come now, that's quite enough. Please go. Letting the guests who were supposed to feel welcome see such a disgraceful thing must have been hideously embarrassing for a servant. Pressed by Goda to hurry up and go, Canon left. You're too harsh on him, Goda. Shouldn't you have helped him instead of being a bully? That was wrong of me. I deeply implore your forgiveness. Shut up, Goda. We all know you're a dick. Your only redeeming quality is your cooking. Even without a twitch in his smile, Goda apologized elegantly. Canon has a ton of things he's good at too. It's just that being young works against him all the time. It's a crying shame. Well, it's a prickly age. Let's just leave him be. After all, closed-mouthed servants are the best kind. Isn't that right, Kumasawa? Rudolph, you truly are harsh. There's no servant as silent as me, of course. Everyone smiled wryly at that obvious lie. Even she herself didn't believe that, not in her wildest dreams. So she must have said it to lighten the mood. Yeah, that's the kind of character Kumasawa used to be. The once stiff atmosphere had cleared up at once thanks to her cheerful smile. I'd like to set down our luggage soon. Goda, what rooms are we all going to take? It shall be the same as the previous year. Allow me to guide you. Please, this way. We headed toward the trim, elegantly simple guest house. This is going to be our temporary quarters for the night. Cannon watched over the hedge as all the guests entered the guest house. Then he let his eyes fall on those heavy sacks of fertilizer piled up in the wheelbarrow. In his mind, he kept going over his previous mistake. Balor, big and strong, had picked up the sacks in front of him. The sacks Cannon couldn't lift himself as if they were feathers. It would be extremely difficult for an outsider observer to guess what emotions had stirred up in Cannon. But as far as you could tell by watching him hang his head, there was something that he just couldn't let go of. Muttered words escaped his lips, but those words, as he murmured, were so soft they didn't reach even his own ears. Even I... Cannon hung his head, slightly biting his lower lip. I remember the rose garden, but I don't remember this guest house at all. Was it built recently? Torion, Visitor's Retreat, was written on the gatepost thing, but since everyone called it the guest house, I followed their lead. The brand new Western-style guest house, which stood overlooking the roses, had a magnificent design carefully done in harmony with the garden. Correct. It was built the year before last. Ever since then, they had a sleepover here. This place is more fun than that junky old mansion, you know. I wish my room was over here.
I want a room here too. I want one.
I guess you could say my own house was upper class, but to me, it felt completely ordinary compared to the head family. The display of wealth was shocking, as was the fact that they built this kind of awesome guest house for guests who came over only a few times a year. Ava, Hideyoshi, please do make use of this room. Rudolph, Kyrie, please take this room over here. I really do love how beautiful and elegant this place is. Western-style architecture truly is wonderful. I can handle Western design for a few days, but any longer than that, then you need a good old Japanese look. Japanese people just relax best on tatami mats. Haha, they've been fighting over whether to make our new house Japanese style or Western style. Mom still holds a grudge about Dad having the construction started with a Japanese layout, and they bicker all the time about it. I'm really jealous, George. Your parents go along well, don't they? Mine are so frosty. Then again, they're always in sync when it comes to my grades. As for me, I prefer Chinese style. All the rooms seem to be for 2 people. I was grateful since I wasn't going to be forced to share the same room with the old bastard on the pretense that we were family. Anyway, I figured those 2 wouldn't enjoy themselves with someone around. With me around. What's with that creepy smile? You're thinking about something dirty, aren't you? Something dirty? Of course not! Please enjoy your stay! Ow! That hurts, you old bastard! Once again, Dad pulled my ears from behind. Cut the crap. I'm getting a stomachache and I'm not in the mood for this. You're the guest of honor this time around. So play as nice as possible with Dad and Aniki and the rest. At the very least, be careful what you say in front of Dad, got it? Because we're wisecracks don't go too well with him. Jessica, what's the head's mood been like lately? Same as last year, I guess. Considering they say he's got 3 months left to live, he's as lively, grumpy, and irritable as ever. Meaning this year he's in his usual bad mood. And as usual, the only one who's able to look after him is Genji. It seems the master will open his heart to no one else. Lately, us small people have not been granted an audience with him. He shut himself up in his study again, probably doing nothing but that weird black magic of his. What he does for a hobby is his own damn business. When he always starts stinking up the house, it really gets on my nerves. I wish he'd never come out of that study again. You shouldn't talk like that about the elderly. We're all indebted to him since he rebuilt the Ushirimiya family. We should be more grateful. Well, sorry. After being rebuked by George, Jessica had no choice but to take back her thoughtless remark. The Ushirimiya family was wealthy beyond belief, but of course, that meant all its members were a bit strange and completely out of touch with the world at large. Mine's like that, but but for different reasons. Not because we're rich, just because mine are just home buddies. At the top of the chain, the family head, our grandfather, seemed especially strange and terrifying even for our family. Dad said he was getting a stomachache earlier, and I imagine that reflected the honest feelings of all the adults here today. No doubt they were jealous of his grandchildren, who just play around and laugh without a care. From the stories Dad told me, the family head was a violent man who ruled with his fists, beating his children and even his daughters mercilessly with a wooden sword. If he's so strict and uptight about that, why couldn't he have been a little more conservative with his kids' names? Because of that, even us grandkids have to suffer. Anyway, I can't say I have any trouble believing those terrifying stories about him. I don't remember meeting him very often, but I think I recall him looking extremely grumpy all the time, always making people cower with that sharp gaze of his. I remember the room's atmosphere got so tense whenever he was around you couldn't even breathe. What my dad said about me being the guest of honor now carries a little more oomph for me. 6 years ago I was in elementary school, but now I'm a high schooler now. If I act up, things could get serious. Ugh, scary. He does look frightening, but he's not so frightening that you need to tense up like that. Nothing of what he says is truly unreasonable. He may be clumsy at talking, but he's a very logical person. But George, you've been the family darling since forever because of your awesome grades, right? Grandfather treats us completely different. I even got slapped with a wooden sword. On my ass! My ass! On my mainly innocent ass! Well, you're the heiress of the head family, Jessica. Grandfather's giving you special attention. You've got to realize his strictness reflects his high hopes for you. Oh, come on! Seriously? I could just turn this succession over to you, George. It's a bit of a heavy burden for me to carry. I think I've already said it before, but Jessica's the girl heir to the head family. We're only cousins in branch families, so she probably feels a totally different sort of pressure than we do.
Jessica, is that heavy? If I help hold it, will it get lighter?
Thanks. It's okay. I'm not gonna push it on you, Maria. I'm gonna bear this cross until my grave. Don't worry. She was grateful for Maria's innocent concern, but Jessica's face seemed to contain some sort of uneasiness she felt toward the future. Maybe we're in the same boat. Any high schooler with exams approaching would have trouble hiding their anxiety for the future. Maria, come here. You and I will be in this room. Valor, I heard you're going to be with me in this room here. Oh! Now there's a surprise. It's bigger than our parents' rooms. Dang! Well, I figured we cousins would all want to hang out together, so I told them to get a bigger room ready.
I like it more here too. I'd rather be here than with Mama.
Oh, you like it better here too, Maria? Okay, this room is George's and mine, but we'll give you special permission to come in. Better keep it a secret from your mom, okay?
It's a secret.
Aunt Rosa was right behind us, but Maria still answered, striking at the air with her fists clenched tight. After setting down their luggage in their rooms, our parents had gathered again in the corridor. Hey, what are you blats planning to do? Are you cousins just gonna stay here and chat? Seems they were headed to the mansion to announce their arrival. Normally they would make us follow them and greet everyone together. But if that had been the case, Dad would have just told us to come and that'd be the end of it. He's saying it's okay if we don't come, so what do we do? Well, it's gonna be lunchtime before long anyway. Better let the kids unwind here. Besides, if worse comes to worse, this might be their last chance to play outdoors.
I'll go too!
Maria, you house sit for Mama, okay? Behave yourself and wait here. Since Maria was being told to house sit here, we certainly couldn't leave her on her own. George noticed this immediately and gave a clear reply for all of us cousins. Well then, we'll accept your offer and house sit. We've got lots of stories to tell each other after being away for half a year. That sounds wonderful. And Battler has 6 years worth of stories to tell, doesn't he? Yeah. I'll take care of the house like a good boy. Kumasawa, I'm gonna stay here too. We'll bake rank and leave the rest of the adults. Perhaps that would be best. I'll report it to Madame. And allow me to guide you all to the mansion. This way, please. The other children are the one thing, but George is getting to be an adult. Wouldn't it be better if he came with us? If we make him come, poor George will be the only one out of place. Interacting with his cousins is also important. Okay, see y'all later. The adults left one after another. They left in the same formation as our trip from the harbor, with Goda leading Kumasawa and taking up the rear. As we gathered in the room assigned to us cousins, George asked us to excuse him for a second. He rushed over to Kumasawa, who was falling behind the disappearing adults, and seemed to ask her something. He soon finished his business and came back. What's up, Aniki? Nothing. I just wanted to ask her something.
Ah! Tell me too! Tell me too!
What could George be asking Kumasawa and not me, I wonder? I don't have a clue. No, it's a misunderstanding. Not that I know what you're misunderstanding. Aniki was getting pretty tongue-tied. It was almost as though he felt guilty about something, and Jessica knew exactly what he was worried about. At any rate, it's no fun if Jessica gets to know about it and not me. Hey, Maria, it looks like we're the only two out of the loop, right? Don't you want to know what they're talking about?
Ah! We want to know too! We want to know too! Ah!
I fooled around while oohing together with Maria. No, I'm telling you, it's no big deal. Liar! I'm surprised you tell such a terrible lie, Aniki. Confess! Maria, you tickle his right side, and I tickle his left.
Ah! I've got his right side, but Oliver's got his left! Ah!
Wait a second! Wait, you two! Stop! Maria and I played around, chasing George as he tried to escape rolling on the bed. I realized high schoolers aren't supposed to bounce around like kittens, but I miss this kind of fun. A warm, cozy kind of fun. George, what were you asking Kumasawa? Well, I got a good guess. It's been a year since last time he visited the head family. Know what servants might come and gone during that time? Either way, it looks like he had to go to say hi.
Huh? Say hi! I want to say hi too!
What the hell? That's something to feel guilty about, Aniki. I'm not buying it. Maria, don't be fooled. Aniki's still hiding something. More torture! Stop it, seriously! Maria, you too! Stop it already! She's probably busy cleaning or getting lunch ready. Don't worry, she'll drop by to say hi sooner or later. I bet you'd rather have been welcomed in by Shannon instead of that nosy Goda. Shannon? Yeah, I remember the girl with that name. Is she still a servant? How's she doing? By the way, Natsuki, how's your headache been lately? Seems pretty serious before. I have been much better lately. Thank you for your concern. Oh, right here. A present for you, Natsuki. Thank you very much. I'm always receiving gifts from you. Is this black tea? It's herb tea with peppermint and lemon balm. It's a blend from a well-known store. It's supposed to be good for headaches. I thought it might help you too. Rosa was always a conscientious woman, probably because she was the youngest of the four and much younger than the other three. She managed to grow up without gaining the venomous nature of her siblings. Her kind words got Natsuki to soften her expression for just a moment, but it wasn't enough to melt her stony gaze, hardened as if it was long years of mental stress. Come to think of it, you're always complaining about those headaches. Pull yourself together. Jessica has her exams this year, right? That's going to be a turning point in her life. Will she really be able to rely on you as a mother if you're like that? Besides, Natsuki, you're 3 years younger than me. You should get your act together. I apologize. I've had a tendency for headaches all my life. Even under normal circumstances, Ava sometimes failed to choose her words carefully, but her comments aimed at Natsuki contained shards of obvious malice, though she hid it with a smile. Of course, if that fact didn't escape Natsuki, She frantically contained her urge to grimace and pretended to ignore Ava. Our battler have his exams this year too. Rudolph, shouldn't you be a little more concerned as well? For the sake of your own son, you better get serious to the point of having headaches like Natsuhi. If I say anything, he'll automatically rebels. So what should I say? Should I say the opposite, that it's okay for him to mess around? It's probably the only way I could get him to listen to me. Hideyoshi, George really did well in his exams, right? Please, you gotta teach me the trick to handling children. I messed up. Well, it's probably because I got him to understand why he should study. Study isn't worth anything on its own. That's right. The real point of studying is to practice research and stuff on your own whenever you bump into something you don't know. If you can't do that, you can't be useful to society. I'm not talking about math or writing. You gotta learn how to learn. That's splendid. I wish our Jessica could understand that as well. If she's to be the heiress of the Ushirmiya family, and at this rate... Do you really have to force her into becoming the successor? After all, a woman has to find a woman's happiness. Parents shouldn't force such things on their children, don't you think? Hold your horses, Ava. Each family has its own way of raising their kids. You shouldn't be pushy. I'm sorry. Natsuhi, don't take it the wrong way. Although the light shining in through the window was quite warm despite the cloudy weather, there was a dark mood about in the room, which was probably causing headaches for more than just Natsuhi. As if to sweep away that mood, Kiria brightly made a suggestion to all present. Still, this black tea really has a lovely aroma. Let's drink it right away. In Japan, surely you wouldn't find something like Leopold's black tea anywhere but Ginza, right? I see you know a lot about it, Kirie. I guess it was worth going to the trouble of buying it. Kirie and Rosa stood up from their seats, as if to make it to prepare the black tea, but Natsuhi forestalled them. I thank you both, but we can try that later. One of our people will soon be coming to bring the tea, so please relax. Leave it for later, you two. Let's enjoy our welcome drink. Rudolph gave a subtle signal with his eyes for them to sit down again. Kiria and Rosa understood instantly and obediently returned to their seats. The initial greeting of the guests was complete. It was time for them to be served some tea. It was embarrassing for the host that the tea was late, especially now the guests were talking about making tea themselves. Natsuhi bit her lower lip, frustrated by the ineptitude of the servants who were late bringing in the tea. Seeing her face, Ava immediately started to giggle. Of course, Shannon had no way of knowing what was taking place in this parlor. She came pushing a servant cart filled with teacups. Here's my second Kenny. For no apparent reason, Natsuhi gave her a pained look, and Shannon couldn't help but flinch without knowing what she had done wrong. This is how I am in real life in front of strangers. I'm Maria at home. Okay? Like, well, okay. Well, I don't know. Anyway. If in real life, I act more like Shannon. This is how I know certain things about certain characters. Like, I already knew certain things about Umineko without really actually trying to seriously solve mysteries. I'm not going to say anything else other than that.
Excuse me, your tea is ready.
Oh, Shannon, it's been a while! You keep getting prettier every time I see you.
Oh, thanks.
Save the chatting for after you set the table. The tea will get cold.
I apologize, madame.
She apologized like a small frightened animal, bumped against the serving cart and made a jarring racket as she dropped several teaspoons. Her clumsiness made Natsuhi's expression turn even darker, which made Shannon quail even more. Come on, Natsuhi. There's nothing wrong with her exchanging a few words and greeting. The tea must be plenty cold already, considering how long we've been kept waiting.
There's no need to worry. It's not cold yet.
Shannon, finish setting the table quickly.
I'm sorry, madame.
Natsuhi's irritation was obvious by now. The ineptitude that delayed the tea and the clumsiness of the servant. Everything pointed to the incompetence of Natsuhi's everyday leadership, making her lose face. As the person in charge of the Ushirmiya family's head kitchen, allowing that clumsiness to be exposed today of all days was surely nothing less than total humiliation. Lay off, Natsuhi. Don't you think it's a little harsh to bully Shannon when she's trying her best? I'm not bullying anyone. What a nice aroma. May I ask what brand this is?
I'm terribly sorry. I'll find out for you later.
Kiri was trying to be nice, hoping to cut in through the tense mood. However, Shannon had embarrassed herself, instead darkening Natsuhi's face in the room's mood. By this point, Ava was audibly giggling. What's this? Shannon, don't you even know what you're pouring us? Come now, you mustn't serve something so suspicious to guests. We'll need a silver spoon at the very least before we can drink this.
I'm sorry. I'll go get one immediately.
Shannon, do you know what the silver spoons are used for? They have to be silver. Do you know why?
No.
A teasing smile rose to Ava's face as she stared at Shannon sitting at the table. By itself, Ava's expression was sweet in an impish sort of way. However, the words being spun from her lips held the keenness of a razor within them. Shannon tried with all her might to avoid Ava's continuous gaze. Realizing that Shannon was hard-pressed for an answer, Rosa gave some timely help. They say if the silver is touched by poison, it darkens. I guess you learned something today, Shannon. They were acting as though this tea needed to be tested for poison before it could be drunk. In Natsuhi's eyes, this is an insult to both the tea and to herself for serving it. Rudolph laughed flippantly and patted Ava's shoulder. Haha, silver coloring wouldn't do any good for you, Aniki. Just one lick of your poisonous tongue, and even a silver plate would turn pitch black. Since I get to hear that poison tongue every day, I must be poison-proof myself by now. Ava, I don't mind when you use it on me, but you better hold back when talking to people who haven't built up the resistance. My, how cruel. All I did was teach Shannon a bit about tea, didn't I? Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and chuckled, though not easily. Only Natsuhi didn't join in, but for the time being, the conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the tea table and tried to leave, Kiri apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Shannon gave a light bow and made a hasty retreat. Shannon cast her eyes downwards as she pushed the cart down the corridor. Anyone seeing the pitiful way she might have looked easily could conclude that she had been bullied in some way. Don't be sad. You didn't do anything wrong, Ne-san.
You were watching.
That is my role. Madame and Ava can go to hell, but the worst coward is that guy. Canon glared hatefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. The preparations for the tea had been delayed by some trifling problems in the kitchen. These problems were not Shannon's fault. In fact, it had been Goda's mistake. After all, there was no way a show-off like Goda would give up a flashy job like bringing in tea when the guests arrived. He had been wasting time preparing the tea once again. So when he realized he wouldn't be able to score any points for this job, he pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. You might call it a clever move on his part, but there could be no doubt that it was a cowardly one.
It's okay, Canon. Thanks. I'm not bothered by it at all.
Canon's silence vividly expressed the distance between Shannon's words and how she actually felt.
Thank you. Even if you're the only one who understands, I feel a bit better.
You keep your feelings too balled up, Ne-san. You should be less hard on yourself for once.
Yeah, thanks.
Suddenly they both felt someone's presence and whirled around. A middle-aged man stood there. It was Genji, the head servant. What are you doing here? Shannon, hurry and go back to the kitchen.
Yes, if you'll excuse me.
Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and left. However, Canon appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he couldn't express in words. What is it? Did something happen? Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But even so, they...
Stop it, Canon. Please excuse me. I'll return to work immediately. Canon, you should go back to your post too. Please.
If you say so, Nei-san. If that is all, then go. Yes, if you'll excuse me. In the shadows of the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa. Poor Canon. There's no reason for those two to be picked on. Still, Goda's dislike for them is an undeniable fact. Until Goda was taken in by the Ushiromi head family, I hear he worked for a fabulous hotel somewhere. The matter of work he learned there was quite impressive, I believe. It's just that Goda is the new servant here. He must have a lot of pride accumulated from his previous positions, because Shannon and Canon are his seniors here at the mansion, and yet are inexperienced and have gone through much less in life than he has. He picks on them at every chance he gets. And also, sad as it may be, they are disliked by Madame Natsuhi too. Of course, we're talking about experience. The Madame has been in this family much longer, and yet this was one point where I cannot help but sympathize with the Madame as well. Truly, the Master is a man with many sins on his conscience. Why didn't he realize that such a trifling one of his would give the Madame such an inferiority complex? Of course, on the inside, even the Madame is fully aware that those two don't deserve to be treated so harshly. However, the heart has reasons that reason knows not. I feel so sorry for them. I can't do anything but watch over them from the shadows. Alright, we reached about an hour or so. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of other things. Umineko is like, I would say the first one is like kind of like setting up the chessboard pieces and you're just being introduced to them in that sense. Like you're getting to know like the basic background of what's going on. I would see it like that. So if it's kind of slow and boring in that sense, I could see that in a way, but yeah. Anyway, let's see. So let's go over some of the new characters that we've been introduced to. So, Servant Canon, a young servant. He performs his duties silently and diligently, but is not so highly regarded as a servant due to his unsociable nature. There are multiple other servants with the own character in their pseudonyms. He and Shannon just happened to be the ones on duty that day. See? Own. So, Servant Goda. A servant hired as a cook. He hasn't served his family this long, but through his earlier jobs and previous experience, he has cultivated a talent for entertaining guests. Because of this, he is very highly regarded as a servant. Is there any tips? No. So we're going to go back to the title screen. I want to see if there's anything that's technically been unlocked. Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, done for now. Good night.